What's up, guys? Hope you guys are having a good day. I'm excited for this one. This one should be a good time. I talked to Shea this week. Sounds like obviously Quake's been doing really well, so that's great. What's up, Brady? And then it sounds like the bubble's gone really well as well. Bruce, how you doing? How you guys doing? Jordan, welcome. Chico, heard it went well today. Juanito, welcome. Welcome, Ben. Braden, good to see you. Oh, busy time right now. So those didn't see, we actually just finished up helping. We partnered with Next Level for a camp up in Marin this weekend, and it was a lot of fun. Different. What's up, Layla? Anya, welcome. And it was a lot of fun, but different. It was a 3-week camp where the kids each week did different sport. First week was flag football. Second week was basketball, and the third week was soccer. So we came in and ran the soccer piece. And so kids were in the same cohort for 3 weeks. So they were allowed to have contact in small numbers, and it was interesting. It was fun. It was different. I kind of felt like I forget what movie it's from, but one of these movies back in the day. Where it's like, oh man, only if I could go back and play Little League when I was like 20. And I totally felt like that. Playing with some of these kids and like just messing around with them. I was like, summer camp's the best. Matthew Chase, welcome. 1 second. Just make sure we're all good. I'm back. There he is.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. How's the day? How's the day been?
It's been pretty slow. Been doing homework most of the day.
Yeah.
That's about it. We got practice this evening.
What's that?
We have practice, video session, and then practice later on this afternoon.
Got it. What homework are you doing specifically?
I'm in a financial statement analysis class, so I'm analyzing Starbucks' financial statements.
Dang.
It's actually pretty interesting. I've enjoyed it.
That is very cool. What does film session look like for you guys on a night before game day?
We have film usually every day leading up to a game, but the night before the game, we do set pieces. So we'll watch their set pieces, how they attack and defend set pieces. And then after that, we go out to the field and practice our attacking and defensive set pieces. So since I'm not a starter right now, I have to pretend to be our opponent. So it's my job to watch the opponent's movements in these video sessions and then try to mimic them on the practice field to give our first team a taste of what it's going to be like tomorrow.
Got it. And the previous day's film sessions, are they focused on you guys, focused on the opponent, both?
Yeah, they vary. Early in the week, we focus on kind of our strengths that we had in the previous match. Middle of the week, we focus on the team that we're about to play and their strengths. And that's usually a tough video session because we watch them and it's all their highlights. So it's like, dang, we're about to play Barcelona. Like, what's going on? And then later in the week, like yesterday, we watched their weaknesses and where they struggle. So now you're like, oh, you get a little more confidence. Like, oh, they are beatable. And then set pieces today. And then right before we take the field, we usually actually do another video session on just briefly the guys that are starting. He'll show brief clips of everyone that's starting, the opponent. And so you get to see kind of their movements and stuff before you take the field.
Got it.
We do a lot of video, but it's concise and it's efficient.
You say you do a lot of video?
Yeah, we do a lot of video, but it's efficient. Everything we do is pretty well structured.
Nice. How long? I mean, video is obviously a newer thing. Do you remember, like, over the last, your time in the league, do you feel like it's become a bigger thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think before video was kind of like, I think it was just harder to clip out and break things down. So we would just watch like big chunks of teams playing, like big chunks of games. Where now they throw in like 25-second clips that we'll watch real fast. So it doesn't take very long. We get a lot of information. And you can see the guy you're marking in a minute you can watch him touch the ball 5 to 10 times, and you start to develop, oh, he likes to dribble with his right foot, he feints this way and goes that way, and you can get all that information in a minute. It's pretty impressive.
Very cool. I'm a big believer in video. I like to film like not only players but also like coaches. So I deal with coaches, so I'm like filming coaches and seeing how they're interacting with the team and seeing like when they're stopping things, see what their mannerisms are. But yeah, film don't lie. I think that's a saying I've heard in the past.
That's true. It holds you accountable, right? Before film, someone would score on you, and you could kind of the next day be like, well, I think it was your guy. Or maybe I was shifting this way, but you watch the film, it's like, dog, clearly that was me. I should have been there.
Sure.
One thing that's difficult about film, though, you got to know this when you watch it. It could be depressing sometimes when you're watching film because you only watch yourself and you see all of your mistakes, and sometimes you think everyone else sees your mistakes as well. But in reality, everyone else is just watching themselves as well. So you might leave a video session and be like, oh man, I was horrible. Everyone here knows that I missed that pass. But in reality, everyone's kind of thinking the same thing about themselves. So it's never like, never get too down on yourself in a video session, essentially. Like, no one's really watching you as closely as you are.
It almost reminds me, just kind of popped in my head, but it's like the mentality when someone goes to the gym. And it's like, don't worry about what people are doing. Like, just worry about yourself because everyone's in their own head doing their own thing.
Yeah. But you think watching you, you're like, oh man, people are judging how much I'm putting on the bar or whatever. But in reality, that's not the case. Just our ego getting to us.
For sure.
Can you hear me all right?
I can. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So the bubble, I know we talked about it a little bit, but I'm kind of, yeah. So what is it like for those that don't know? What's it like being in the bubble?
Yeah, so the bubble is just a really a nice hotel in Orlando, and it's got security guards all around it. We don't see them; they're kind of on the exterior. So all we see are hotel staff and MLS staff. And now, as there was originally, we were the first team here, so we were the only team here for a while. And then there were, I don't know how many teams in the league, like 20-something, 27, 28 teams. And now it's dwindled down to 8. So hopefully we stay longer, and we're the first team here, last one to leave. That's kind of our motto. But it's much nicer than I expected. I put my expectations really low on purpose, hoping that maybe it would be right here and I'd be impressed. But to be honest, everything's been really good. Everything's been more than I expected, and so the food's been good. The rooms are nice. The amenities are fun. I think it's also what our team is made of it. A lot of teams came here and they were miserable. Some teams came in with the virus and had to be locked up in their rooms and quarantined and things like that. But I think our team has made it a lot of fun. We all bought little RC cars. We like race our RC cars around all the time. We have a dartboard. We play bingo every night. So we're staying entertained.
Good for you guys. How many RC cars can you guys race? 'Cause I remember when I was a big RC car fan as a kid, and there was only 2 frequencies, I think, for most RC cars. And so, like, if you could only have 2 cars race because otherwise the frequency would mess up.
We got some pretty nice ones. They're like $90 RC cars. And so they're super fast. Let me grab one real fast.
You guys just race down stuff?
Oh yeah, we race outside, inside. We also we all got the exact same RC car, so there was no like competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And then we got stickers, and so we decaled them out, and so they all look different, the stickers. But they're like there's a whole.
They're hardcore.
They're awesome. They're fast, and we have 10 of them. There's 10 guys that bought one, and so we race them all the time. So my wife the other day, I was talking to her on the phone with the kids, and I was like, I'm sorry I'm not home yet. She's like, it's okay. Just make sure you come back with the trophy. And my kids go, no, come back with the car. Come back with the monster truck. That's all they care about is that I come home with the monster truck.
Nice. That's awesome. Were all the teams in the hotel, the same hotel?
There's 2 different hotels here. They're really close in proximity, but there's 2 different hotels. But it never felt crowded. I mean, they build these resorts ready for a ton of people. So I don't think we're anywhere near capacity. And now all of the teams are in our hotel. So the teams that were in the other hotel that have advanced have been moved to our hotel.
I'm just thinking like a normal hotel, but like obviously these are special hotels where there's probably massive conference rooms and tons of them because you guys have everyone's eating lunch probably similar time, film session.
Yeah, we don't even run into people. The conference rooms are enormous. Like they must do so many conventions here. I mean, you could picture like Vegas hotel conference rooms. Um, they're enormous. Like our gym, there's one huge room that has like 5 different gyms in it where they set up our gyms. And our gym here is bigger than our one at our stadium. So it's impressive what they've set up here, and the money they've spent to set it up has been impressive.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's get into the soccer piece next. So, how has like the preparation gone? Like, what'd that look like? So obviously preseason was short. What'd that look
Well,
like?
it was awkward for us. We could not train as a team in San Jose. So Santa Clara County had the strictest restrictions as far as social distancing. So we could only do individual sessions as a team in San Jose. So we were the first team in the bubble so that we could train as a team. So we're the last team in the league to train together. We got to train together for about a week and a half before our first game. So it's pretty tight. And our first game was against Seattle, the defending MLS Cup champions. So some chips were stacked against us, but we played well. We tied that game, and ever since then we've been on fire. We've won 3 in a row now.
Yeah. How about so the whole subbing rule? We talked about this a little bit. What are your thoughts on it? So those that don't know, normally MLS you're only allowed 3 subs, and now you're allowed 5. And they did this because the game's in the middle of summer, shorter preseason, don't want guys to be like likely to get hurt. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think FIFA's made it a worldwide temporary rule, so all the leagues are adopting it just because to try to prevent injury and to make the game not be so slow at the end. And I love it. I hope they adopt it forever. One is that it's more likely that I get to play. 5 subs, I'm going to get on the field and play. I think it speeds up the game. The guys that are starting know the 5 of them on the field know that they don't have to go 90, so they can play harder in their minutes. And then once we get subbed on, it's amazing. Like you're playing against tired people, and you can just run at guys, and you have a lot of energy and guys with energy to pass to. And so I think it's made for a lot of goals, especially 70-plus minute. There's been a ton of goals in this tournament, so I like the rule. I hope it stays, and if it does stay, maybe I'll play for another 5 years.
What do you think for you? What are the main differences preparing for a game, knowing you're coming off the bench versus starting?
For me, there seems to be a less stress when you're coming off the bench. Just because when you come off the bench, all you have to do is you have 20 or 15 minutes to make a difference. And if you make a difference, that's great. If not, it's not the end of the world. But when you're starting, I feel like there's a little more pressure. There's a little more prep. You have to eat differently because you're going to be using much more energy. You're going to be running a lot more. Where when you're coming off the bench, it's like running a mile. You're just all out for 20 minutes. There's no pacing. You just go. But what I like about starting is that you obviously have more of a chance to impact the game, more chances to score goals, more chances to get assists, and so I'm kind of indifferent at this point. Late in my career, when I play 90 minutes, it hurts a lot more. So, so I don't know. I think I still want to be on the field as much as possible. So, yeah, it's just different mentality.
What kind of advice would you give to maybe a kid? Because I know like a lot of kids, right? They're not starting, their heads down, and they're completely it's like the game's done, the game's over. Like what advice would you give based on your experiences to kid?
Yeah, I think every minute is an important minute. Whether you play 90 or 1, you have a chance to make a difference in a game. And so for me, when I come off the bench, man, I've got this short window to impact the game. So every touch I get, I want to be explosive. I want to be quick. I don't want to waste it on a simple pass backward unless that's what we need if we're up a goal or something. So what advice I would give is, one, be impactful. Like, be energetic when you're on the field and make a difference. Help your team. Like, man, my teammates come up to me after the game all the time who have started like, oh, thank you. You brought so much energy to the game. You helped lift us. You helped get us out of tight spots and helped us rest. So that means a lot. And the second thing I would say, if you don't like coming off the bench, you want to be a starter, then you've got to work extra hard off the field. So, or away from the game times. Like practicing twice a week with your team isn't going to do it. You've got to practice 5, 6, 7 times a week to get better, because that's the only, you got to work harder than the guys that are starting. That's the only way you're going to get there.
Yeah, and also if you think about it logically, like, okay, on the weekend, let's say you're not playing 90 minutes, you're only playing 30 minutes. Well, those other players got an extra 60 minutes of training that you didn't get, so now you got to make up for that somewhere.
Yeah, so you got to get the fitness, and you've got to be ready for those 90 minutes too. The worst thing is if you get those 90 minutes and you're not ready, you're tired or not fit. So it's better to be prepared and not get the opportunity than to get the opportunity and not be prepared.
Good line, I like that. You were talking just now about like when you finished the game and some things that your teammates said to you about the energy you brought. What are some things that, like, for you, you've been in the league for a while, like that makes just like a good teammate? Like,
Yeah, that's good. I think there's tons of different types of good teammates. They're different personality types. The main thing a good teammate is he's someone who is willing to put the team above himself, and that sounds cliche, but essentially you're not just worried about your own success. You're worried about the team's success and whatever makes the team better. And the ironic thing is when you do that, your success is more likely. So I've been the best player on the worst team, and that didn't help me very much. And I've been one of the worst players on the best team, and I somehow get a new contract or a better contract. So the better the team is, the better the individual is going to be. So a good teammate is someone who realizes that and isn't selfish, who works for others. And that could look different for different personality types. It could be guys that scream and push their teammates and yell a lot, or it could be the quiet guy who's just always working hard and leading by example. There's just so many different ways to get the best out of your teammates.
good stuff. Let's go off the field now. So for those who don't know, we ran into each other. I was actually drafted the same class as Shea. Do you know like what round you were drafted? Or I'm sure you probably.
I was 15th overall.
So small world. I think I was drafted 39th. And I was roommates in Kansas City with John Leathers, who you played at Furman with.
Yep, my college teammate.
Yeah, so small world there. Anyway, so there's that, and then I was out at Monroe, a park near kind of where we live, and Shea was out there and came up and we started talking, and yeah, long story short, I saw you a couple times and we trained together. Yeah, it seemed like we had a like mindset, and we talked about doing some stuff together, so I'm super grateful that you were able to do this and help inspire some kids. But one thing that I thought was really interesting was you were talking about like how you were into like do-it-yourself projects. I think at the time, like a chicken coop. And I was wondering, I just literally was thinking about this today. I was like, how's the chicken coop? And what other projects have you done? You kind of like, you talked about it a little bit, but like that's something too, like I've been interested in. I helped build a deck back in the day. Totally into that stuff. So I'm just kind of curious what type of stuff you've done.
Yeah, I think we talked about this. I have a passion for just learning new things, and for not depending on other people. And so my wife and I, before we, like 6 months before we had our first son, we're like, well, we'd really like to buy a house, but we didn't really have the money to buy a house in California that we could live in. So we bought this property that had 2 houses on it that were unlivable. Like they were nasty. And we thought, it can't be that much to hire some people to tear out some walls and put some stuff in. We got some quotes and we're like, wow, we can't afford this either. So we got on YouTube and we started learning how to do things. And it was crazy. We would get a quote for something. We'd be like, well, that's too expensive. We would learn how to do it. We would buy the tools. We would do it ourselves for like a fourth of the price, sometimes an eighth of the price. And so we saved a ton of money. I got a bunch of cool tools and I learned how to do a bunch of fun things. And so this has become like a habit that I just love doing. Even like my little RC car, I like take it apart, figure out how it works, and like I'm trying to make mine faster than everyone else's. So I'm like, oh, this part needs to be better. So I just love like figuring out how to fix things and do things. So we've done a lot on our houses. We live in one of them, rent out the other now. That was like a 5-year project. And now my wife and I are still like itching to do things. So during quarantine, she's like, let's get some chickens. So we got chickens. I had to build a big giant chicken coop. It's like the Taj Mahal chicken coops. She like found these plans online, and it looks like a playhouse. So I love it. Yeah.
Did you name it?
The coop?
Yeah.
It's just the coop. It's the coop. We have 5 chickens, and they should start laying eggs like in a couple weeks. So I'm excited for that. I love eggs. So.
Have you had a chicken like on your property before, like as a kid or
No,
anything?
this is our first time. So my wife, like, we watched this show called Back to Eden. It's about like growing stuff fresh and fertilizing and mulching and stuff. And so we got inspired by trying to kind of having our own urban farm. And so chickens are a big part of that as far as fertilizer. And so we got chickens. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun for the kids too, because they're easier than dogs. They give they give eggs. So
There's a plus there. Um, Speaking of kids, let's go into first your childhood, like where you grew up. What was your soccer experience like as a kid? Yeah.
I grew up in Texas, where football is supreme. I was always the smallest kid in all my grades and teams and things like that. So football wasn't really an option. Even I think in high school, I was one of the fastest kids, and the coach was like, tried to talk to my dad, like, just let him play football. No one's ever gonna catch him. No one's gonna tackle him. And my dad's like, the one time someone tackles him, he's done. He's gonna just be broken in half. I had like zero muscle mass. It was all skin and bones. So I grew up there. I played club soccer for the Dallas Texans, which there was no academies then, so it was just club soccer. And Dallas Texans were a well-known club. But I got burnt out when I was 14 or 15. My coach had a lot of pressure on me to play well. My parents had a lot of pressure on me to get a college scholarship. And so I got burned out, and I essentially kind of quit for a year. I went to a club that was not very well known, wasn't very good, and played with them with a bunch of my friends and fell in love with the game again. Was fortunate to guest play with the team and got a scholarship to Furman University, which is in South Carolina. Loved it there. Clint Dempsey went there. He left the year I came in, would have been his senior year, but he left early. Ricardo Clark went there, Walker Zimmerman, just a lot of like big U.S. players have played at Furman, so it was a cool place to be. Played there for 4 years. Never ever thought I'd be a pro soccer player. It was like, I mean, it was a dream of mine, but it wasn't like this is what I'm gonna do. I just loved playing soccer, loved getting better, so I practiced a lot. Had my dream was to become a physical therapist, and then my senior year, I played well and things got put into place, and somehow I was drafted 15th overall. And I was like, well, I guess I'll try this soccer thing out. And that was 13 years ago. So I've been a pro now for 13 years. It's been amazing. I played for San Jose for 11 years. I played for Philadelphia for a year and Vancouver, Canada for a year. So it's been a cool career. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm still trying to get better every day and play as long as possible.
Keep the 5-7 rule, maybe another 5 years or so.
Yeah, that's the hope.
What would you give your advice to like teenage you? What advice would you give to teenage you?
Yeah, I would give the advice my dad gave me. It was the best advice that I've ever gotten. As far as, I mean, you can apply it to most things in life, but one day I was always really good at dribbling and shooting. I liked dribbling by guys, and yeah, I was out there practicing my dribbling. He's like, "Hey, why don't you practice your weaknesses?" And he's explained to me that I shouldn't just practice my strengths. I should practice my weaknesses to become a more well-rounded player. So I was horrible at kicking the ball with my left foot. I was horrible at juggling, and so he convinced me to practice juggling every day for 30 minutes. And so at the time, my record was like 15 juggles. I was like the worst juggler on my team. And I practiced every day for 30 minutes for a year, and my juggling record went up to like 2,000 juggles. And my whole soccer game evolved because now I could juggle, I could trap the ball, I could use my left foot, I could do so many different things. And so the advice I would give is to work on your weaknesses. And that applied to my schoolwork as well. when I wanted to get a college scholarship, I needed to be much better at reading. Math was something I was pretty good at, but reading wasn't. And so I just applied that to my schoolwork. I started working on my weaknesses more, and became a more well-rounded student and was able to get a scholarship.
Good advice. Very good advice.
Work on your weaknesses. It's not as fun, especially at first, but it's much more rewarding.
What advice would you give yourself, like a college player that was like where you were, who wants to?
And if you want to be a pro and you're in college, you have got to play so much soccer. You've got to pick up games. Playing 3 months out of the year is just not enough for college players, especially nowadays. When you have guys who are signing pro contracts at 16 and 17, we have guys that are 16 and 17 on our team, and they're playing every single day with professionals. And so their development is so much faster than a guy who's playing 3 months in a college season. So try to play for PDL teams, during the summer, do whatever you can to play as much soccer as possible. But also have a backup plan, because becoming a pro is not easy. So get your education. It's important.
Good stuff. It's like basically when you're in college, you need to be taking it like you're a pro. You need to be training constantly. You need to be developing. You need to be pushing yourself.
Yeah. Work on your weaknesses and play. Like I said, play in games, many games as possible, small-sided, big games, whatever you can, and then compare yourself to the guys you're playing against. If you're not one of the best players out there, you've got work to do, because they all want to be pros too.
How about, what would you give, like, first year, second year, you in the league? What would you advice?
Don't place your identity in how well you play or what people say about you. The first few years in the league, it was like blogs, and there wasn't Twitter or anything like that, but there was like blogs where people would go and write about players. And so after every game, I would get on these blogs, Big Soccer, whatever, and I'd read what everyone would say about me. And if they said, "Oh, Shea is amazing, he's going to be Rookie of the Year," I believed it. I thought I was the best player in the world. I'd have a huge ego. I'd be on a high. But if I played poorly, I would, why is Shea even a professional soccer player? He shouldn't have even been drafted. I would believe it. Like, what am I doing here? I don't deserve any of this. And so I was on this roller coaster ride of emotions my first few years. And so what I would say to any player is, don't place your identity, don't place your self-worth in what other people say about you, or even on your performance, because it's going to be rocky if you do that. There's just never going to be consistent. You're not going to be sure-footed. And so, that's a big one. Place your identity in your worth, in how God created you, in the people who love you no matter what.
Good stuff. I want to go back to one thing that's interesting. You said, so you played in the Texans, and the team, Texans, for those that know, like before Academy, they were like the team in Texas. What made you like fall out of love with the game? Like, what more can you think about more specifically, like what made you burn out? Was it like the coach? Was it the environment? Was the pressure you put on yourself?
It was almost a perfect storm of everything you said. So our team was one of the best teams in the country. I had been one of the better players on the team while we were younger, and as we got older, as other guys hit puberty before I did, grew faster and stronger, I was always kind of still the smallest guy. I stopped playing. I wasn't able to play as much, but my coach knew that I had something special, so he was hard on me. He would yell at me and get on to me, and so I started getting into my own head and not having confidence. At about that same time, I got mono, so I was just feeling tired all the time. My parents didn't know I had mono. And so I was just like, man, this isn't very fun. My parents also moved to Dallas for me to play for the Texans. We lived in a small town in Texas, where the Texans saw me play, and they encouraged my family to move to Dallas. And so my parents had given up their jobs in life so that I could be a successful soccer player. And so it was like this pressure on me that I mean, I can see it now. At the time, I just thought I hated soccer, but that wasn't the case. So I stopped playing for that team. Mono was kind of the excuse for all of it, but it was a bunch of other factors. And then I started playing with just a bunch of friends, and I was like, and that team actually ended up being pretty good. We beat the Texans a couple times.
Nice.
And so I started loving it. I was like, I actually really do like soccer. I love competing and getting better. And so I kept playing, thankfully.
Sounds like a good experience at the end of it. But when you're going through the middle of it, you're probably like, what the heck? Like,
I mean, my parents too, they're like, wow, we just invested all this money so that he could go to college. And I remember my dad saying, we saved this much money up for your college. So if you don't get a scholarship, you're on your own. He actually said you're going to be flipping burgers. It was a bit dramatic, but thankfully it worked out. God had a bigger plan, and it worked out. But I was always working hard. I was a ball on a wall. A ball on a wall was 5-6 times a week.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, you can never do that too much. Um, did you have any siblings at this point, or was it just you?
Yeah, I had a younger brother who unfortunately got dragged along to all my sports and everything like that. He ended up being, we were at this, my dad was always kind of a crazy person off the diving board, and so my brother and I would do flips and stuff off the diving board, and this guy comes up to him and I one day and was like, hey, you guys want to join the dive team? And I was like, no, that sounds horrible. And my brother's like, sure, I'll do it. And my brother ended up getting a full ride to Wilmington and being a nationally ranked springboard diver. So he had a good sports career. It's just very different than mine.
Now, what is it now?
Oh, now
Yeah,
he lives in San Francisco, and he used to work at the San Francisco Zoo, and now he's looking for work.
got it.
Are we what?
Are you close?
We talk a lot. We're not as close as we used to be, but we have different lifestyles.
Got it. Yeah, siblings. Even though, like, yeah, it's crazy how that can happen. Some siblings are so close, and some siblings, like, wait, what? You guys are related?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, good luck tomorrow. Thanks so much for this. I think it was very insightful and very interesting, and I think a lot of kids are going to get a lot of value out of it. Anything else you want to add, or maybe like go off on, just like because we have mostly kids that are looking to play college, looking to play pro, as well as some collegiate players. So anything like you want to just like leave off with?
Yeah, I think a big part of my professional career, a big part of my life has been my faith. And so when I talked about the roller coaster ride of performance, I think it's important not to, in our society, we are judged off of our performance so often. And so we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to play well, to do well in school, so that we can be loved. And so a big stabilizing factor in my career has been knowing that Jesus loves me regardless of how well I perform. And so I can take the field knowing that all I can control is how hard I work. I can't control if I make the perfect pass or if I win the ball. All I can control is my work ethic. And no matter what happens on the field, I'm going to leave the field, and God's going to love me the exact same. And so that gives me a ton of confidence going into games, going into whatever I have to do, is knowing that nothing about the game, nothing about your performance is going to change who you are. And so that's what I would leave someone with is, if you don't know Jesus, he loves you no matter who you are, no matter what you do, and you can't change that.
Shea, thank you so much. Enjoy the film session tonight. Hope you can score a couple goals playing for the other team so that you guys are prepared tomorrow. And yeah, good luck tomorrow and the rest of the tournament.
Thanks for having me. We'll see
No
you guys
problem.
later.
Bye.
Bye.